TRT World's defense analyst, Oubai Shahbandar, joins us here in the studio for more on this story. Oubai, lots of alleged evidence there in what looked to me like an elaborate corporate PowerPoint presentation by the president of Israel. Does it prove anything?
Well, you got to love PowerPoint, but one thing here is very clear that Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech and PowerPoint presentation really was geared towards an audience of one, and that's President Trump in Washington, and it could very well convince President Trump to pull out of the nuclear deal. The scope of this presentation was very much targeting the nuclear deal, and essentially was an attempt by Prime Minister Netanyahu to convince President Trump to pull out of the deal. Of course, President Trump has until May 12th to recertify the nuclear deal with Iran. No one really knows what's inside of the head of President Trump, whether or not he will continue to move forward with the deal. There are many in his administration that don't want President Trump to pull out. The Iranian government has also indicated that it wants the Americans to continue with the nuclear deal. But this was really a remarkable speech and a remarkable presentation. What it really tells us is that Israel and Iran are much closer to a direct confrontation than ever before.
And what can we expect in terms of looking further into this alleged evidence? How can we know the authenticity of what Netanyahu has presented?
Well, that's a very difficult question. I mean, the whole world of espionage and intelligence is really a murky affair. Of course, Prime Minister Netanyahu alleged that the Mossad, in a daring operation, captured hundreds of thousands of documents, videos, and photos. It's very difficult on whether or not we can really truly authenticate this intelligence. Now, the Americans have indicated that these documents are authentic. Now, with a big caveat, the U.S. government has stated that these documents prove that at one point the Iranian government had, in the past tense, a covert nuclear weaponization program, but they do not indicate on whether or not these documents, if they do pan out to be true, suggest that the Iranian government is continuing ongoing covert and what would be illegal weaponization work on their nuclear program. That's still very much unclear. Of course, the Iranian government is stating very clearly that they are abiding by the nuclear deal, that they have allowed nuclear inspectors into some of their nuclear weapons sites. Now, of course, critics of the Iran nuclear deal are also saying, on the other hand, that the Iranian government hasn't been fully transparent, and there's still sites that are off limits to international inspectors. So both sides here are very much entrenched in their positions, but we're going to have to wait and see until President Trump makes that fateful decision on May 12th on whether or not to pull out of the deal or not. Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech could very well be that deciding factor.
The nuclear deal, though, does have some champions, doesn't it? I mean, the EU's foreign representative, Federica Mogherini, is trying, in a way, to save this nuclear deal. They tried for so many years to succeed in, getting all sides around the table to agree on.
Indeed, the EU and France in particular, with President Macron's recent visit and his meetings with President Trump, have been very, very adamant with the Americans to continue to abide by the nuclear deal. The EU also wants to open up potentially new commercial interests and relations with Iran. They want to normalize relations with Iran, and they see the nuclear deal as a pathway towards doing that.
All right, Oubai, thank you so much. Always good to get your thoughts.